What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sector for Nerds, and welcome to another episode of Star Wars The Clone Wars Retro Discussions. Today, we're here to begin Season 4 of The Clone Wars, Episode 1, Water War. This episode was directed by Dwayne Dunham and written by Jose Molina. The cookie for this episode: when destiny calls, the chosen have no choice. Before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Plenty of great content every single week, you guys. You guys definitely don't want to miss out on any of it. I think by the time that this video goes up, we should be reviewing Skeleton Crew by now. So make sure you guys are staying tuned every single Wednesday as I give you my thoughts on each and every episode of that series. Well, this arc is actually a big deal because most of it takes place underwater, which is really the first time in the Clone Wars that they've done that. They had a little bit in Season 3 when they were on Kamino. There was like a small underwater scene there with Obi-Wan and the Aqua droids, but nothing that was like being portrayed over a 22-minute episode, let alone three 22-minute episodes. And it's about this story that originally we see in the Clone Wars micro series as just like this 3-minute short, the Battle of Mon Cala. And I remember, you guys, when they revealed the Season 4 trailer for the Clone Wars, it was such this moment. I remember because half of it I feel like was all the underwater stuff. And I was like, oh my, wait a minute, we're actually going to tell that story in Clone Wars. Like, this is really one of the first micro series stories that they've really adapted into Clone Wars. They reference Mace Windu battling on a Dantooine, in Season 2 when they were on Geonosis, but very rare do they actually take a story that was already pre-established in a different show and they're bringing it into this and adding on to it and building like a story around it. So let's get into it, you guys. Today, you know what? I'm going to do I think I'll start doing the intros from now on. Intro guy. You know what? He's been like a real pain in my butt lately. So, you know what? I think I'm just going to do this myself. All right, look, I can do his job. I don't need him here. Here, watch this. I got this. All right, here we go. Ryan, take it away. Troubled is the planet Mon Calamari. Its races have divided. The droid army of the Quarren Isolation League moves against the Calamari Council. Alone, the Calamari are no match. Intervene we must. Oh, shoot. Darn it. I got my scripts mixed up here. Son of a gun. All right, fine. Intro guy, do your thing. Water Wars. Tensions run high on the ocean world of Mon Calamari, where two separate peoples, the aggressive squid-like Quarren and their peaceful neighbor the Mon Calamari, struggle to maintain a fragile coexistence. Adding to this strife, the king of the Mon Calamari has been found mysteriously murdered, leaving his young son, Prince Lee-Char, to guide his people alone, but the Quarren race will not accept the new ruler as their king. Senator Amidala and her Jedi husband, bodyguard, have arrived to help resolve the matter and to avoid plunging the planet into civil war. Thank you, intro guy. I mean, I kind of, I feel like I, said like kind of the same thing, just a little bit shorter, but yours is fine too, and that's fine. First note I have written down on this episode, I forgot how, like, what's the right way of putting it? Like, how nerdy Prince Lee-Char's voice is. I mean, I guess he is supposed to be like this young boy who is like got no experience being a leader and doesn't know what he's doing. So I guess in a regard that makes sense.
The prince's rule has been preordained.
Down with this monarchy!
We'll defend our right for a Mon Cala king.
We want a Quarren king.
Down with the Mon Cala. Power to the Quarren!
I am dedicated to serving the Quarren, as well as my own people, the Mon Calamari.
And I actually really like the idea of this whole thing. And I think that the Quarren are rightfully justified in being upset with this boy becoming the next king, because it's like, okay, well, why should this guy lead us? He has no experience. Let's hire the right person for the job. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if I necessarily agree with their idea of like, well, we're not going to support another Mon Cala king, because that was, I feel like, part of their anger. I don't think it should be about whether it's a Mon Cala or a Quarren. It's just who's the most qualified person for the job. But unfortunately, the Quarren end up relying on the Separatists to help them. And that's where, like, this civil war really gets stirred up, because this Temsin guy being here, he's like this shark looking creature. But the reason why he's here is because the Republic representatives are here as well, which is Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala. They're all kind of arguing, and Lee-Char's just like, I am dedicated to serving the Corrin, as well as my own people, the Mon Calamari. I don't know how spot on that was, but it felt that's just what it sounded like to me.
I am dedicated to serving the Quarren, as well as my own people, the Mon Calamari.
Oh yeah, Ackbar's here. You know, the guy from Return of the Jedi.
It's a trap!
That was exciting. He's a captain here for his people. That's cool. There was at one point in this meeting, it looked like he was going to go up against Tamsin, but Anakin stopped that from happening. The Corrin leader, I believe his name is Nosarai. I don't know if they actually give his name in the episode, but they do have it in the credits. Voiced by Corey Burton. Man, this guy does more voices in Clone Wars than I thought. But what I was saying, though, is like it's funny because throughout this entire meeting, he's basically saying, like, this kid isn't meant to rule us. Like, we refuse to support the coronation of another Mon Cala king.
We refuse to support the coronation of another Mon Cala king. I'm sorry.
Ambassador, it is my opinion the Quarren have no further business here.
Come on, Captain Ackbar. We have to contact Master Yoda.
But like right before like everybody leaves, right? Nosarai goes up to Lee-Char and he says, "Your father was a good friend of mine. I'm sorry for your loss." So it's kind of one of those things that's like meant to show you early on that like the Corrin aren't like, you know, these heartless people that perhaps some of the people on the Separatists are. People like Count Dooku or people like Tamsin. But then we see Captain Ackbar, Anakin, and Padme chatting with Yoda and Windu.
The Separatist ambassador came here to stir up the Quarren, and that's exactly what he did.
It's only a matter of time before the Quarren withdraw from the Republic.
I suspect behind this, Count Dooku is.
The Mon Calamari system is still part of the Republic. This planet must not fall into Separatist hands. I'll dispatch Master Fisto and your Padawan Tano, along with a company of clones. They'll be at your side by day's end. In the meantime, Captain, assemble the Mon Cala troops and prepare for a Quarren assault.
And then we see Tamsin assembling his army of aqua droids. And the most important thing to come out of this meeting that he has with Dooku is Dooku says, in the end, control of this planet will be in your hands. Which is interesting because it makes you think, does Nosarai know that? Does he know that he's getting outed here? Because that's what I feel like it felt like, right? Like the Corrin people were kind of uniting under Nosarai here, assuming that probably they wanted him to be the next leader. But yeah, if it looks like Dooku's got his way, it's going to be somebody else that's not even from that planet, showing you that they're basically just using the Corrin. And then we're introduced to a Mon Cala senator by the name of Senator Tills. Doesn't seem like she's really that bright when it comes to things, which maybe kind of just sums up most senators in the real world. Or any politicians for that matter. She sits there and is like, you must remain at his side at all times, Captain, referring to Prince Lee-Char. You must remain at his side at all times as his personal bodyguard. What a great idea. Let's have like your top general, your top warrior standing on the sidelines of the battle and protecting the prince. That's where we need our top hero here the most for the Mon Cala. Lee-Char does even admit, though, to Ackbar that he's not trained to lead an army. Like, he's right. And I don't think Ackbar needed to hear that. He's like, man, come on, man. Like, this isn't... I do really feel for Ackbar in this, man, because it's like they're about to go to war and they have a leader that isn't going to know how to properly lead them. So it's almost kind of Ackbar's responsibility to now kind of like, not necessarily assume power, but to sort of be the general of this army, to sort of be that commander-in-chief. And right before the battle begins, Lee-Char's speaking with his people, and he's basically like, I know many of you agree with the Corrin that I am too young to rule. Can't do this. You know what it's like? It's like when Emmett in the Lego movies, like, I know what you were thinking. He is the least qualified person to lead us. And you are right. I am too young to rule, but I assure you that I will use all my strength and all my abilities to lead us through this challenge. We are a great people, and I will do all I can to negotiate peace without bloodshed. I do not believe the Corrin will attack. About 2 seconds later, they attack. This was the prime spot for Captain Ackbar to say that line.
It's a trap!
But instead he just says, it's an attack. Surely the memes were out at this point. In what year was this? 2011, 2012? Like, surely there were some it's a trap memes out there at this point. Come on. Do it for the people. Do it for the culture. Okay, let's get on track here, guys. I'll say this. The Battle of Mon Cala, this is absolutely incredible. Again, it's such a unique battle with it being underwater and like all the different species that are here. You've got the Quarren, you've got the Mon Cala, you've got the Aqua Droids. Eventually, we get the Republic involved as well, and the different looks for the clones and their scuba gear.
Blue leader, standing by.
Red leader, standing by. All squadrons are in position, General Fisto. You may deploy when ready.
Commencing deployment now.
I love the speeders as well that we see some of the Quarren using once the clones get involved. We see them using it, like Ahsoka and Kit Fisto have them as well. One of the things that they had talked about in the behind the scenes for this episode was having a lot of shots just showing the scale of everything, just like with the buildings and the tubes and the battle scenes, like to really just show how big this was. And it was Dave's idea to use the tubes because it's like, well, normally you'd have like sidewalks if you were walking on land, right? But like they're not going to have that down there. So instead, what if they just had tubes to use to like transport themselves around? If you also look at some of the Mon Cala buildings in this as well, they look a lot like the ships that you see in Return of the Jedi. There's a point in the battle where Anakin ends up losing his helmet, and so it looks like, oh my gosh, like you can imagine if like it got shot by a blaster bolt or something. That'd have been bad. But then like Ahsoka charges in to save the day and grab the helmet, get it back to Anakin, and Anakin's just like, I had it under control, Snips. And Ahsoka's just like, I knew you'd say that. But then Anakin has to go help Padme and Senator Tills, getting her to safety. So then Ahsoka has to go help the prince, who Temsin is now going after at this point. By the way, Temsin is lethal in battle, man. Just the way he's like just constantly swimming around, you know, chewing on the Mon Cala, chewing on the clones. Like, oh man. Like a true shark taking down his prey. But he goes after Prince Lee-Char, and Lee-Char is just like freaked out the whole time. He's just like, I've never been in battle before. I've probably never even shot a blaster either. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Luckily, Ahsoka gets there in time, and I love how his immediate reaction was like, I'm just going to drop the blaster and just hold on to the speeder. Because I feel like if it were me, I'd put like one hand on the speeder, I'd take the other with a blaster and just start trying to shoot him as I'm getting away. Be like, stay away from me. Also, he's like, get us out of here. And Ahsoka's like, hang on. He's just like, I am. Which, you know what? I actually appreciate that being in there, because how many times does that happen, right? Where someone's just like, hang on, and it's just like kind of like this obvious thing. But in like probably the funniest part of this episode, and maybe it's all just because of my brother. So the thing that you guys have to understand, right? Like me and my brother, we were in the trenches when it came to this show, man. Like we were obsessed with this damn thing. This was like all we'd talk about. Like we'd reference stuff, like different like, quotes and everything all the freaking time. And one of the quotes that he will just randomly spew out just all the freaking time is when they're in the tunnel, Ahsoka and Lee-Char, and they're trying to get away from Temsin, and Lee-Char just goes, I'm slipping.
I'm slipping.
And he does it right in the most inconvenient moments, right? Like if we're like, let's just say lifting some furniture, because my brother and I, you know, we've moved around a couple different times, right? We got to lift some heavy stuff, and we'll just be moving around a hallway or just moving something around, and he'll just go, I'm slipping, and then I'll be the one that loses it because I'm dying of laughter. Like I said, man, we were in those trenches when it came to this show. We were obsessed with it. And then eventually Disney decided to take it away from us. Tell me why. Very curiously, the droids decide to retreat, and I'm like, this is an interesting tactic here. I felt like they were kind of doing good for themselves. I mean, even when the clones arrived and they kind of evened the playing field a bit, it still felt like the droids weren't necessarily in a bad spot. And even Anakin admits, like, yeah, they could have easily overrun us with the droids. Like, I don't know what they're doing here. And Fisto points out that they're taking position in the coral, probably, you know, preparing for another assault. Anakin's like, why would they hide there? Well, it's because that Temsin's got some new secret weapons. They're called Hydroid Medusas. They're basically giant yellow jellyfish, and they're invincible. Wait, what? That's not fair. How are we supposed to beat these things? Meanwhile, Senator Tills is sitting there like, we have to prepare to dictate terms for a Quarren surrender. I'm like, ma'am, do you really think that's what's going on here? Lee-Char says, I know the Quarren, they won't surrender. And Anakin points this line directly at Lee-Char where he's like, we may have won the first battle, Your Highness, but it won't be the last. Why are you telling Prince Lee-Char? He just admitted to you that they're not going to surrender. Tell the other one. She's the one that doesn't know what she's doing. Yet again, neither does Prince Lee-Char. I know I said that a couple minutes ago, but just no one knows what they're doing. I know I'm poking fun at a lot of things in this episode. Genuinely, this is a great episode. I will say this, though. One of the moments that, like, always gives me goosebumps every time I watch it is when these Hydra Medusas pop out from, like, under the, the tunnels and stuff, and they start floating upwards towards the enemy. And, Kit Fisto's like, all troops, battle stations. And it's like, all right, here we go. Anakin gets his saber out. Fisto gets his saber out. And Ackbar points out, don't fire until the prince gives the command. And, eventually he's just like, attack, He seemed really excited when he said it too. But you know what? To be fair, like, if I was in that spot, I probably would too. So why not? But like the moment that always gives me chills is the moment when Temzin and the Aqua droids come from underneath the jellyfish, and I'm like, oh no, they're gonna get overrun. And then we start seeing them pop up from behind our heroes as well. So now they're having to like fend off the enemy in all different directions. And it's really this moment that, and the music as well really adds to it as well. Like we're gonna lose this battle here. We can't win. We can take on the Aqua droids. Like they're no match for us. You know what I'm saying? We can cut down 100 of those. That's not our problem. But these jellyfish that are invincible that we've been shooting here for a good minute, it clearly hasn't done a thing. We can't beat them. Anakin realizes like, all right, Ahsoka, we got to get out of here. Find us a way out. And so Ahsoka goes to the prince like, all right, how do we get out of this place? And the prince is like, no, we can't retreat. Not now. We've got to be brave. And Ackbar rightfully points out to him, there's a time to attack and a time to retreat.
Prince, we're somewhere safe.
Can't retreat. Not now. We've got to be brave.
There's a time to attack and a time to retreat. And now is not the time to be brave.
The safest place is in the caves.
I agree, Your Highness. Follow me.
Okay, I changed my mind. This is the greatest part of the entire episode because I promise you guys right now, this is a moment that we have been building towards since the first time that Kit Fisto appeared on screen. So for those who have watched the micro series, you guys will know in that 3-minute short, at the very end of it, Kit Fisto lets out this like giant smile at the end of the battle. Like the battle is won and everything, right? And Fisto, of course, has like that smile in Attack of the Clones as well during the Battle of Geonosis. So he's very much known for his smile. And every single time that they have put Kit Fisto on screen, they've given him not the full smile, but just like a slight little tease, like, I'll just give you a slight little smile or whatever. They finally reveal the giant smile on Kit Fisto's face. I remember first time watching this like, yeah, let's go. Oh, I love it. If you guys notice as well when they're retreating, Anakin has 2 lightsabers, one on his belt and one in his hand. I'm sure that was probably just an editing mistake, but I still find it funny. So then, as the Republic ends up retreating, Temzin's making his way, kind of entering the city. The Quarren arrive with, No Sarai and his troops. Tamsin gets really upset here with No Sarai, because he's like, what took you guys so long to get here? And he basically grabs him by the throat and he's like, you disobey a command from Count Dooku again, and I'll kill you where you stand. And I feel like that had to have been the moment, right, where No Sarai really began to realize, oh, shoot, what did I just get myself into? This dude could have killed me right there and then if he wanted to. It's actually one of the stories that I really like so much about this arc is it really just shows you like No Sarai's confidence level just getting lower and lower and lower as this arc goes on, and we're going to talk about it as it happens. Ackbar goes over to Lee-Char as they're in the caves, and Lee-Char's just, he thanks Ahsoka and he thanks all the soldiers, but he kind of feels responsible for all this. Like, man, if I could have just done more for my people, we could have spared ourselves of this whole thing, right? And Ackbar points out that your father would be proud of you. He's like, well, how? We just lost. Ackbar says, today you learned the hardest lesson a commander can learn, and that's how to live to fight another day. And yeah, that is episode 1 of the Mon Cala arc, you guys. Big L in the L column here for the Clone Wars for our heroes. But that'll, set us up for next week's episode when we talk about Season 4, Episode 2, Gungan Attack. Oh, well, the title, I feel like, says it all. I wonder what this one's going to be about. That is going to wrap us up for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel. And I will see you guys next time.